celebrating a milestone event in biblical history, the 70th anniversary of the restoration of Israel. What an event. And I am so excited to have my good friend, Ambassador Danny Ayalon, with me. I can't think of a better guest to talk with about this important event. Ambassador Ayalon has served as Deputy Foreign Minister for the State of Israel, as well as the Israeli Ambassador to the United States. Ambassador Ayalon, welcome back to Jewish Voice.
Thank you so much.
It's so great to have you here.
Always good to be here.
First of all, Mazel Tov, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What an event.
It is.
What an event. So the Islamic world said this day would never happen. That in 1948,
yes,
Israel would be pushed into the sea in a matter of days, and you'd come back to your homes.
Right.
And that's been the agenda ever since. But they failed, we won.
Yes, well, they still... Right. Unfortunately, they have made it a zero-sum game. That means that no coexistence, no reconciliations, and for them there is only one solution, unfortunately. And when we were pushed into the sea, with our back into the wall and the waters of the Mediterranean, we had to do what we had to do, and that is defend ourselves. And I think we also felt the importance of the history with the restoration of the land, and we were really God's emissaries. And I believe that this is what kept us as 600,000. And Jonathan, you know, in 1948, we were only 600,000 Jews surrounded by 100 million hostile Arabs. And not only...
It's pretty bad odds.
Yes. And not only we survived, we thrived, and actually the gap between us and any enemy or combination of enemies is growing. And you're right, after 48, they said, oh, it's short-lived. Few years and we will push them to the sea. Then came 56. Oh, not worry, few more years. 67, 73, 82, and until we are here, and I believe we're going to go from strength to strength, and with another fact which is very important, why we are winning. We don't have anywhere else to go. So this is our home, the only home we have ever had, and we take care of it like our home. And for 2,000 years, until the Jews returned, the earth there, the land was derelict. Why? Because all of these inhabitants, or the rulers of the land, were occupiers. So they didn't care too much about the land, not the Romans, not the Seljuks, the Ottomans, you name it. When the Jewish people came back, we treated it like home because it is our home. And this is why the transformation began.
Well, 70 years and counting. It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
I was talking with another guest about this idea of the connection of the Jewish people to the land. This was a land that was promised to them as an inheritance, a people that were promised that although I'll scatter you for your disobedience, I will bring you back. Mm-hmm. Even specifically mentioning where they would be brought back from, the North Country, Ethiopia, the land that is today Ethiopia, Cush. Mm-hmm. That's all been happening before our very eyes. This is Bible prophecy, I believe, being fulfilled. And when the people of Israel came back to the land promised to them, it's like the land opened up and blossomed. I love that
Absolutely.
scripture that
Yes.
the desert will blossom like a rose.
Yes, and it is now.
Let's jump into some really good news in Jerusalem. This was a really bold move. It was after a 25-year-old decision back in 1995 when the Congress voted to move the embassy, but it's been delayed for security concerns for 25 years. What does this mean for Israel?
I think it's miraculous. First of all, I think it was the right thing to do. And it is nothing short of historic, really a miracle. And when people ask me, why did President Trump decide to move it now, my only question is, it's not a question, why did he decide to move it now? The question is, why did it take so long? And 25
Right.
years long, or you may say 70 years long. I think that it would have been the right thing for the nations of the world back in 1948 when Israel was reestablished. As you said, when we were restored back in our homeland, it was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, they didn't because of the Arab pressure. But with the United States moving, this is a move which is historic. And we know of other countries.
Vice President Pence said something when he was in Jerusalem recently that I want you to comment on. He said this lays the groundwork for peace because of the criticism from the left is this will dismantle the peace process, which is, there's nothing being dismantled
Right.
in reality. But he said this will lay the foundation because the foundation for peace has to be built on truth.
Exactly.
Can you comment? I just thought that was a fantastic
Absolutely.
statement.
Well, you see, I think, first of all, we see really a breath of fresh air coming out of Washington when it comes to the Middle East at large, and specifically to the conflict with the Palestinians. And what I think Pence was referring to was that for the last 8 presidents, we're talking about 8 presidents who have tried the same and more of the same, only to hit a brick wall. And why was it? Because everybody was catering to the Palestinians. The Palestinians were treated as the spoiled kid. They were not asked to make any compromises. And what did that do? It toughened their position, thinking that they don't have to do anything, that Israel will be delivered to them by the international community. Well, it didn't work. So now I think they have to face reality, and it is only up to the United States to start bringing the reality back home to them. It will take some time, but this will be recognized. And once we put or take Jerusalem out of the table, once they understand that they will have to really do some soul searching themselves about the future of their own people. You see, until now they have had so many opportunities which were lost. I think this is another opportunity, and if they're really serious, peace will come.
Amen to that. It's based on truth. I want to talk more about the UN. I want to talk about misinformation. We'll call it fake news. How's that? Fake news. The propaganda that people are seeing about Israel and believing. We need to set the record straight. Welcome back, former Israeli Ambassador Danny Ayalon, who joins me all the way from Israel with current events, is with me. All eyes are on Jerusalem as we move the capital. I want to shift into fake news, Danny, and the propaganda. Most of the world media portrays Israel as the aggressor, gives the impression that this is a battle zone. Every tour we have to deal with people that see something on television or read something and they want to cancel the tour because they think it's unsafe. All of these things are false, are fake news, right?
Absolutely. I feel safest, basically, in Israel. And it's not because we have less threats than we would have anywhere else in the world, but we are better prepared. We have this great accrue or to build this experience. But when we are being attacked, the first thing is, of course, to rely on intelligence, preemption, and this is the only way to not just to win a war, but to really survive. To paint Israel the aggressor, again, it's fake news, because they do not report the squads, the terror squads that are coming under tunnels from Gaza. They do not report all the rockets, with huge explosive warheads coming out of Israeli kindergartens and malls and shopping centers. They just show Israel's self-defensive acts. And this is not only fake news, I believe this is just propaganda, and it is very, very unfortunate, and especially when we see that the entire world today is under attack of radical Islam, whether it's in Europe or here or in Moscow, anywhere else. And what we have told them from a long time ago, if you don't come together, they will attack us first, but they will not finish with us. They will come over to you.
Israel's just the closest.
Exactly.
Let's make something very clear in this program, okay? Moral equivalency. There is no moral equivalency between a calculated attack against a missile silo and bombing the civilian population. Right. Let's be clear about that. Okay?
Absolutely.
Let's set the record straight.
Absolutely.
There is no moral equivalency.
No
here.
moral equivalence whatsoever. And we see that the Palestinian terror is targeting mainly civilians. Their idea is to terrorize the entire population, to create a wedge between the population and the government, so the country will be under chaos, like in Syria or in Yemen or in Lebanon or in Libya. We see that they do it everywhere. Thank God we are able to defend ourselves, and this is why the country is thriving, and this is why we see that most attacks are being foiled.
Thank God. And not to forget, he that keepeth Israel never slumbers nor sleeps. I'm glad about that,
that's
too.
Right. That's right.
I have so much I want to talk to you about. Talk to me about the greatest threats that Israel is currently facing as you see it.
Okay, first and foremost, it's Iran.
And these are prayer points, by the way. So get your pen and paper or whatever device you keep notes, prayer points to pray for Israel. Iran.
First and foremost is Iran. And when I talk about Iran, it's not the people of Iran. The people of Iran would love to be free, would love to live like anyone else in our countries, but they're under the yoke of the police state that the Ayatollahs created. The Ayatollahs are the most radical, and we were told that after the Iran deal back in 2015, 2.5 years ago, since this deal was made, and Iran got billions of dollars in cash, plus opening their markets to the entire world, we see that they have much more money to funnel to terrorism, to ballistic missile tests. They are really trying to take the entire Middle East as hostage, and this is only the first stage.
So let me ask something. Is anybody surprised here? No, nobody's surprised, and you watching aren't surprised. Iran, greatest threat Israel faces.
Absolutely.
And possibly the world.
And absolutely, because Iran's objectives are quite global. If you read the Ayatollahs, the Ayatollahs' teaching, this is exactly what it is. Basically, if you look at the map, it's only little Israel that keeps as a buffer between this host of terror organizations and radical Islamicism and Europe. This is why we have been attacked for so long. And the fact that we are there, again, it's a miracle, and we will continue, of course, to do what we need to do. Now, Iran, right now, is pushing into Syria. You see, Iran is already in control of Lebanon through the Hezbollah. Every terrorist who kills Jews, according to the law, the constitution of the Palestinian Authority, he gets rewarded. Wow. Money to him.
How do you negotiate with that?
This is tough.
How do you negotiate with that? So Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and other organizations operating internally. We need to be praying specifically against these organizations.
Absolutely.
So, and Israel's protection.
And again, everybody talks about the Palestinian Authority and Abbas as if they want peace. He says, it is true. Hamas, quite openly from Gaza, says that they want to destroy Israel, the Jewish state. They want to create a Sharia-based Palestinian state.
So let me shift over on sort of the ideological war, anti-Zionism.
Yeah.
And the statement that I hear over and over again is anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. True or untrue?
Totally untrue. Totally untrue. It's a new manifestation. It's, I guess, it has become not very politically correct to talk about anti-Semitism. So they made this anti-Zionism. Now, why anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism? Because by definition, Jonathan, by definition, every Jew is a Zionist. In the Haggadah, in Pesach, in Passover, we read next year in Jerusalem. Every Jew reads it, whether he's conservative or whether he's reform. And we have done it through the centuries. In all our prayers, we talk about Jerusalem.
We face Jerusalem.
And we face
we
Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Zion is not something that we selected. It's the name that God gave to this land.
Now, what about this? This is a lie that repeats itself also. You've addressed it, but I need to go back and highlight it again, that Israel is the problem. If America would just drop support of Israel, all of our problems would go away. Fake news.
Nothing further from the truth. Yes, we have been told, I think now it's very clear, when you see what was euphemistically called the Arab Spring, you see all the inner fighting among all these countries. Why? Because most of the Arab countries in the Middle East are artificial countries that were made by two colonial powers back in 1916, in the middle of the First World War, British and France. And they put together countries and lines, many of them straight lines, irrespective of the homogeneity of the population. Some of them were just at the throat of each other. Libya, for instance, all of a sudden we find out that Libya is made out of 140 different tribes. So when Gaddafi was there in Iron Fist, everything was suppressed. Same thing was with Saddam Hussein in Iraq. Same thing was with Assad, the father, in Syria. We see how everything is exploding, and of course it has nothing to do with Israel. Now, if you look back, Israel is I would say, the main stabilizer in the Middle East.
This is the real story, by the way. This is the truth. Israel's portrayed as the aggressor. Israel's portrayed as the problem. Israel is part of the solution, and that's why we need to stand with Israel, among other things. We have some, it's Israel's 70th anniversary. We have some great resources. This absolutely gorgeous Israel Rising coffee table book will give you the before and after. It's one of the greatest books about Israel I've ever seen. And The Miracle of Israel, a DVD that we produced that really points out what a miracle the restoration of Israel is and how it connects to Bible prophecy unfolding before Israeli Ambassador Danny Ayalon. We're discussing really important things. We're setting the record straight, and I had to cut you off. Go back to what we were talking about, because I want everybody to be aware how money is being spent by the Palestinians.
According to the law, the Palestinian law, they paid just last year more than $300 million to terrorists. That almost 10% of the entire Palestinian budget. This is money that you, Americans, give, European gives, and also some of money from Israel. And the law specifies that the more Jews you kill, more money you get. If you get killed during the act, if the terrorist is dead after the action, his parents or his family gets this money. And this is something which is really, really unimaginable, and we're very thankful for the U.S. Congress, for the Taylor Force Act, whereby the U.S. now is denying the Palestinians any money that they give to the terrorists. They offset it from the help.
They just understand this is humanitarian aid money that's being given as a payoff, as an incentive.
Exactly.
It incentivizes murder. And has the UN said anything about this?
Of course not. The UN does not even want to discuss terrorism or to have a definition of what terrorism is. They just look the other way, again, because of the Arab majority. And if you look at the UN, more than half of the countries, almost 2/3, are non-democratic countries. And unfortunately, the UN now is like a rubber stamp. It's hijacked by the Palestinians.
I want to take a moment. We don't have much time left, but I want you to set up a clip we're going to look at from a fantastic video that you put together to really state the truth. And I want you to watch this, and then I want you to go back to YouTube, and I want you to watch the whole thing. So set this up for us.
Sure. So the Truth About Israel is a nonprofit organization that I established when I left the government, and I realized that there is not too many effective instruments to dispel all the lies, the propaganda of the Palestinians, and really to tell the truth. So what we're doing is we're working with the social media, as we realize that the social media is a very, very strong media anymore, especially with the young kids. And we take issues which seemingly are complex, you know, the truth about Jerusalem or the refugees or the West Bank or the peace process, and we just break it down to very simple facts that anyone who is 10 years old and above can understand, and it has been a tremendous success. Millions are watching it, and
Over
I believe
3 million. I use this all the time.
Yeah, right.
I love this piece. Take a look.
Here is the truth about Jerusalem and the Jewish people. The 2,000 years that followed, empires came and left, conquered, colonized, and occupied Jerusalem, never turning it into their capital. While the Jews, Jerusalem's indigenous people, continued living in and returning to Jerusalem despite the hardship. Jerusalem isn't even mentioned in the Quran. Compare that to the 669 times Jerusalem is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible.
Keep it simple. I
Right.
love it. We're linking this to our site.
Great.
So go to
Wonderful.
our website and you can link to their site and really get the truth. The truth is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
And the truth will set you free.
And for, you know, Jonathan, for too many years, we ignored it. We thought, you know, the lies of the Palestinians and their collaborators are so outrageous that we very naively thought, well, nobody will believe it. Well, they do believe it because they repeat it. You know, they repeat it, and just Goebbels, the propaganda Nazi minister of Hitler,
Right.
back in the 30s said, you know, you repeat a lie 1,000 times, it becomes the
If
truth.
it's big enough and repeated enough, people
Absolutely.
will believe it.
So now we
That's true.
understand that we have to respond to any lie, the most outrageous, including the one that Abu Mazen said in the UN 3 weeks ago, that the Palestinians, listen to that, are the descendants of the Canaanites. And immediately I thought, well, if you are a descendant of the Canaanites, do you have any Canaanite language that you can speak of, any letters, alphabets, any prayers, any archaeological artifacts? It's all figment.
Stop confusing us with the facts, okay?
Exactly.
Ambassador, the ground cries out. It's an amazing thing. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
Happy birthday, Israel. Congratulations. And the next 70 years are going to be even greater should the Lord tarry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You may have questions, you may have prayer needs. I want you to remember that we're here for you. I hope that you benefited from this program today and that you really begin to pray for the peace of Jerusalem because you will prosper. We're here to help you any way we can. Our website is jewishvoice.tv.